All right, I have no idea if this video is going to see the light of day, but I'm going to record this and we'll see how this goes, and maybe you'll see it, maybe you won't. We'll find out. So the Goodreads Choice Awards were announced this week, and I am not a Goodreads user, basically. I use Storygraph, I will vote in the Goodreads Choice Awards, but y'all, I am the voter that I will vote for a book that I have not read. I'm sorry. I know that upsets some people. I have some friends that get really upset that people do that, but it just, it's just a popularity contest. The rules are made up and the points don't matter. So I'm just playing by the very unserious nature that the Goodreads Choice Awards brings to the bookish award space. Anyways, that being said, I remember last year being intrigued with some of the books that were in the horror category. And this year, again, I am interested in a lot of the books that are in the horror category. I have read a few, and then there are others that I have watched a ton of other booktubers talk about, and I am very interested in what my opinion would be on these books. So my plan is to place holds for as many of them as possible at the library. We'll see what comes in. We'll see how much I can read. This video concept, we'll have an end date. We'll just have to see. I have no idea what is going to make it to the next round. There's 20 books on the list. Am I going to try and read all 20? Good God, no. But we'll see. We'll just see how many I can read. We're just going to see how many I can read. This concept, idea, this roller coaster with no brakes was born because I was at my library and Incidents Around the House by Josh Malerman was on the new release shelf. And this is one of the books that is on the finalist list, the top 20. And I haven't read a Josh Malerman. I initially said no way in hell was I going to read this book because it's from the perspective of a child, and there's a haunted house situation, but here I am. We can blame this book for me starting this journey. I have read, I think, 3 of the books on the list. Oh, maybe I've read 4. I have read What Feasts at Night by T. Kingfisher, which I didn't love. I don't think I gave it a very high rating. We will talk more in depth about this later on, but I've read this one. I have also read I Was a Teenage Slasher by Stephen Graham Jones. Again, I'll talk more about this one later. Oh, it's at the bottom of the stack. I have also read The Angel of Indian Lake by Stephen Graham Jones. And I have read Bury Your Gaze by Chuck Tingle. This is definitely my favorite out of the 4 that I have read so far. There are 2 books that I am not going to try to read because just based off everything I've seen, I don't think I'm going to have time. And there's one author who I just don't read. Not for any reasons. He's just not somebody I'm interested in engaging with his work. Never say never, because here I am recording this clip, but I am not going to be trying to read Murder Road by Simone St. James. I feel like I've seen more people call that a thriller than horror, and thriller is the one category that I really don't read. Well, my little baby ring light is dying. Sad. So if the lighting changes, that's why. I am also not going to read Stephen King, and that's the author that I don't engage with his work. On purpose? Yeah, kind of on purpose. I mean, at this point, I just don't feel the need to read him. He doesn't need my help, I think it's a leftover from my bookseller days of if there was a super popular author or a book that was getting a lot of attention, I would not read them because they do not need my help. And I would rather my lighting just totally went away and let's get better lighting just a minute. So as I was saying, it's left over from my bookseller days of wanting to highlight and give voice to authors who maybe wouldn't get the hype otherwise. And Stephen King gets all the hype. So I'm not going to be reading Stephen King, and I probably will not read Murder Road, but I am going to place a hold on everything else that I haven't read, and I'll just read them as they come in, and we'll see what I think, and we'll see how this goes, and we'll see if this is a video that I like making. I don't know. I'm real doubtful. Welcome. If you're seeing this, good luck to me in the present moment, or in my present moment. Yeah, we'll see how this experiment goes, I guess. All right, let's talk about What Feasts at Night by T. Kingfisher. This is book 2 in the Sworn Soldier series. I don't know if there's supposed to be more. I kind of hope not, which might tell you all you need to know about my thoughts on this one. I gave What Moves the Dead a 5. I really loved the atmosphere. That book 1 is a retelling of The Fall of the House of Usher by Edgar Allan Poe, and I really thought T. Kingfisher did a great job of marrying her really unique sense of humor and wry wit with this gothic, crumbling manor and the unease of what is occurring in the manor and on the grounds. And I liked the characters. I liked how she brought them all together. I thought that was an excellent story. What Feasts at Night, I didn't know. I had no preconceived notions for this book. I didn't know if she was going to do another retelling of another Poe story or like another gothic tale, which I kind of wish she had. I think that would be a really fun way to tie this series together. But we're following Alex, who is our main character from the first one, and this one has more to do with insomnia, I believe, if I remember correctly. I gave it a 3.5. It was fine. It wasn't offensive, but it was really like a big letdown for me for book 1. So I will probably reread book 1, but this one just wasn't a winner for me. Okay, change of plans. I did not start Incidents Around the House quite yet. I did start Sleep Tight by J.H. Market because it was just available to borrow right away from my library on ebook, and actually my library doesn't have a physical copy of it, and I know I'm a little bit slower of a reader with ebooks, so I just thought I'd start it and then hopefully, because it's a horror, read it a little bit faster, because I'm usually pretty good about flying through horror. So I'm not doing a good job of navigating my Kobo at the moment. There we go. How far am I? I'm 19%. This book is so bingeable. Like, I really had to force myself to put it down last night. I was reading it in bed, which is also kind of a risky maneuver because I try not to read horror in bed, but that was just when it made sense to start it. And I'm liking it a lot so far. I'm very nervous about reading this one because, all right, I haven't read a synopsis for it. I actually haven't read synopses for any of these books, and I'm not planning to. I'm planning on just diving in and figuring it out while I go along because I'm worried for some of them, like Sleep Tight. If I read the synopsis, that's going to scare me and I won't read them because for whatever reason, synopses scare me. And then my reading experience usually isn't as bad as, or isn't as horrifying as the synopsis or the blurbs try to make the book sound. So Sleep Tight, our main character is Tess, and Tess is a homicide detective. And she lives in Missoula, Montana. When she was a kid, there was a serial killer in her town who was eventually caught by her father and her father's partner, because her father was also a police officer. And that serial killer was given the moniker Father Silence by the media, and he killed people that he deemed to be the outcasts of society, the unwanted. But he was, when he was finally caught, there were children in the basement of his house, and police were never able to find out or figure out why he kept these children alive but killed everyone else. And the children were like, it was not a good time for them to be in that basement. but Father Silence was captured and he was put in jail. He was given the death penalty. And so when the book starts, it's the night of his execution, like 20 years after he was caught. And so the first little bit was so easy to binge because it was a mix of flashbacks. Like the prologue was from another character's perspective, and I think at 19%, I think I just figured out whose perspective is at the beginning of the book, and that was super creepy. And then we're kind of we get Tess's perspective in modern day, and there's some flashbacks and just kind of putting together the pieces of how Tess and the events that are happening and are connected in the present, and how Tess is also connected to what happened with Father Silence in the past. I should probably read the synopsis just so I know how much is a spoiler and how much is not a spoiler. There is a content warning for child abduction, obviously. I think I will mention this part. So Tess is married and her husband is Justin, and they're married. They have split up. They're not divorced, but she kicked him out because she found out he was cheating on her. And they have a 9-year-old daughter named Julia. And very quickly into the book, like the day after the Father Silence character has been executed, Tess's parents are found murdered in their house, and Julia's daughter is abducted on her way to school. So this is dark. A lot of trigger warnings. And the writing is I think is really good. It's really compelling. I just want to be reading it all the time. And every time I get to the end of a chapter, I'm like, well, just one more chapter. Which I haven't had that feeling for a while. So it's really nice. I don't know. I am a little nervous for this one just because it involves children. We'll see. I try not to read realistic horror. Like, I try to keep it speculative, but I don't think this is going to be speculative. I think this is going to be pretty realistic. So I'll keep you posted on how I do. But so far at 19%, and I'm really liking it. Okay, I finished Sleep Tight, and I'm waffling between like a 3 and a 3.5. I think this is a solid police procedural thriller. I don't think this is horror. I think it definitely has horror elements, but this read to me like a police procedural television show like Bones or NCIS or something like that, where you know how you'll go through a season and each episode will have their individual mysteries, and then towards the end of the season maybe you'll get a 2-parter or a 3-parter where the mystery focuses on a main character. I'm specifically thinking of like NCIS in this instance. That's what this reminded me of. Like, even though it's not part of a series and it's a standalone, it felt like, oh, we've been following Tess through a season of TV, and then this is her 2-parter episode that focuses on the mystery of her past and her daughter being abducted and what that reveals about the secrets that she's been keeping even from herself. So that's what it reminded me of. I definitely think it's a thriller. You can fight me about it in the comments if you feel real passionately that it's horror. But I would say it is creepy. In certain parts, I was never scared. Like, there's creepy imagery, but nothing that ever felt scary. And I would say that this book does itself a big disservice by giving away the twists right before they happen, which significantly lessens their impact, especially like as a reader who typically does not try to anticipate what is going to happen next. I don't try to guess the mystery. I am usually just there and along for the ride. And I was realizing the twists before the main characters were, which was like, that's not what I want. I don't want to be ahead of the characters. I don't want to be in the know. I mean, sometimes it works, but in this instance, I thought it really like sucked the punch out of the twists because I knew it was coming. I was like, I already knew it. So that's kind of a bummer. I do think this is really easy to read. It's really fast paced. I think you could fly through this really easily, but I felt like it was just yeah, like I said, police procedural thriller, which is fine if that's what you're wanting, but that's not what I was going to do. Like, I'm reading these books because I want to find new horror that I really, really like. And I thought at the end of the day, this was just fine. There's also, I mean, content warnings galore. So, you know, check those out. But there is a very big content warning for drug abuse in this. And I didn't always like how the drug abuse was portrayed. And sometimes it felt very stereotypical and like a little bit lazy on the author's part. Like, he didn't want to do the work of getting more in depth into that particular character, and the drug addiction was just a way to get it was just, it didn't feel, I mean, like the way that character got their drug addiction was like very, I feel like it's really commonplace. Like, it's a story you hear a lot for people who get addicted to painkillers, but it just also felt very stereotypical. So there's that. But yeah, overall, not a bad book, just not what I was hoping for. So I'll probably just split the difference and give this a 3.25. And I'm excited to go on to the next book and see if I like that one better, and if the next one is actually horror and not a different genre that has been miscategorized, which I think is probably like the biggest issue for me personally with the Goodreads Choice Awards, is that books just end up in the wrong categories. But I think I've been noticing it for a while, that I don't think, like, I noticed this with Libro FM as well. Like, Libro FM frequently classifies books as the wrong genre. I mean, in my opinion, but I think in the wrong genre. And yeah, so I think as a whole, I don't know why. Like, the publisher tells you what the genre is in the book. Like, you could open it up to the copyright page and see, oh, the publisher says this book is this genre. So I don't know why, like, so many companies, or like, I don't see this with libraries. I just see it with like companies, like why they struggle to miscategorize a book. Like, it's right there. Publisher told you what it was. And in this instance, because I did read the author's acknowledgments, he thinks he's writing horror. But I don't. I mean, I haven't read his other books. In this instance, I don't think he wrote a horror. Anyways, if you've read this, I'd love to hear your thoughts. As I go through these books, if you have thoughts about one of them, I would love for you to tell me in the comments below, just as we go through. But I am going to take a little bit of a brain break, and I'll probably wait and start the next one tonight. I don't know. I do usually have like a no horror before bed rule, but since Sleep Tight wasn't scary, I feel like I'm going to get cocky now, and I'm just going to start reading these books willy-nilly. But I am going to start Incidents Around the House by Josh Malerman next, because this one, I cannot renew it for my library, so it gets read first. That's just how it works. That's just the rules. Okay. I will come back when I am a certain number of pages into this. I think this one is going to be speculative, which I'm excited about. Good morning, friends. It's the next day. I am only 32 pages into Incidents Around the House, but listen, I don't know if this book and I are going to be able to hang. It already has so many red flags. So many red flags. We're in the head of Bella, who, oh, she's 8. Okay, the synopsis says how old she is. The beginning of the book didn't because we're in her head. And I was guessing she was 7, but she's 8. So we're in the head of Bella, and Bella lives with her mom and her dad and another entity in her house that she calls Other Mommy. And it's very like kind of like Coraline vibes, and that's fine. There's a note at the beginning from Josh Mallerman being like, I chose to use indentation to indicate dialogue instead of quotation marks because of perspective, because the story is told by a child. And look, Josh, if you want to be artsy and different and like not like the other girls, that's fine. But don't say it's because you're telling the story through a perspective of a child, because there's a whole age category for that, and they use quotation marks. So I kind of call bullshit on that. We didn't need an explanation at the beginning. You could have just like let your book, stand on its own. But my two red flags. Well, I'm gonna say here's what. Let me rewind. So the idea is that Other Mommy has a question that she always asks Bella, and that is if she can go into Bella's heart. And Bella says no every time, because Bella intrinsically understands that if she says yes, something bad will happen, and she doesn't want something bad to happen. But listen, at 32 pages in, I think Bella's parents are horrible, and why not give Other Mommy a shot? Like, she can't be worse than these two. Like, these two are horrible. I don't think Bella's parents are good parents. My first red flag is that Bella's mom says, I love you to Bella. And Bella has food in her mouth. And her mother says, say I love you too. Don't make me ask you to say that, okay? Lady. Red flag number 1. Red flag number 2 is from her father, and he says he and Bella are trying to figure out what movie to watch, and he says, hey, what are you and me? And she smiles and says, we're best friends. And he says, totally no. Red flag number 2. If you say you're your child's best friend and you are the parent, no, that is not your job. It is not your job to be your child's best friend. You are the parent. Red flags galore. I don't know if I'm gonna be able to hang with this book. I really don't. I'm gonna give it a little bit longer. I told myself I would give it until page 50, so it's like 20 more pages, and we'll see. But like, no, you cannot be your child's best friend. That is not. So yeah, those are my thoughts so far. Bella's parents are the worst, and maybe she should give Other Mommy a shot. Justice for Other Mommy is my take so far. So anyways, that's how today is going. I really want to try and have a cozy day today. Unfortunately, it is also a work day. So my plan is I have a little bit before I have to leave for work. And why is she like, okay, she becomes like a couch cat in the winter. And it's so funny to have her up here because like during the rest of the year, like she doesn't come anywhere near the couch, but like in the winter, she's looking at the traffic out the window right now. During the winter, all of a sudden, couch is her favorite spot, which is fine, except she's not like a cuddle cat. So like she gets cranky if you like sit next to her and disrupt her comfort level. So I have to go to work, and I do need to go to the grocery store, but and I have to go to the library because like almost all the books for this challenge video vlog situation have come into the library, so I need to go pick those up. I'll have about 2 hours at home in between grocery shopping and needing to go pick up my youngest from school. So I'm intending to like kind of just, I do have to do some chores. I'll have to clean the house a little bit. Do I? Maybe I'll just come home, cozy up, I'll read, and have a cozy, oh no, I need to film my December TBR. Okay. I need to go work. We need to go pick up books at the library. We need to go to the grocery store to get like stuff for breakfast and some snacks. I need to film my December TBR, which I don't even know what I'm gonna put in that video because I don't even know what I want to read for December at all outside of my TBR jar picks. And then I have to we'll go to work again, and then we're coming home, and it's gonna be cozy evening reading time. I'm not leaving the house again. until tomorrow morning. I'll give you an update for incidents around the house. I'm really only going to give it to page 50 for real. And then if I'm not feeling it still, I'm going to DNF it and move on to the next book, because I got a lot of books to read for this challenge, and I can't be wasting on a book where I think the monster is the better choice. I just can't do that. Just sat down after unloading the groceries, and I just got a text message from my library that 2 more books are ready to be picked up. Okay, that's fine. It's fine. All right, groceries are put away. I have my lunch. This is, I forget what brand of salad, but it's their dill pickle. Look, don't knock it till you tried it. It's delicious. It's my favorite. I can't wait to snarf that in like 5 minutes after I finished talking to y'all. All right, I gave it even more than I said. I got over 100 pages in, and I have to DNF it. This is so stupid. It's so stupid. I don't like it. It's dumb. I don't like how Josh Mallerman has written these parents. They are so immature. They are so messy, so irresponsible. I don't think they're good parents. And I think they love Bella. Yeah, but I just don't think they're good parents. I don't think they're good at it. And I hate it. And I don't like it. It's dumb. So it's not scary. It's not creepy. It's just dumb. I mean, I know he's like wildly problematic now because of are they sexual assault allegations or sexual harassment allegations? Whatever mess Neil Gaiman is mixed up in. But if you want like an other mother, other mommy situation, like just read Coraline. Coraline is so much better. It's so much creepier. And like, yeah, it's just better. I think adults can write believable children, obviously. Like we have a whole like age category for adults writing for children and writing from children's point of view. But I very rarely think adults do a good job of writing children for other adults. Like very rarely. There's a reason why I don't really like kids in romance novels, because I don't think adults do a good job of writing kids in books meant for other adults. So yeah, this is dumb. I'm going to DNF it and I'm going to move on because as you saw, I have a lofty stack. So, I think I am going to start A Sunny Place for Shady People by Mariana Enriquez today. I have not read Our Share of Night. I have been intimidated because it is a chunker. However, this is a book of short stories. And y'all know how short stories and I do not get along. But I'm going to try and read like a story a day-ish. So I will start that. And then, I'm not sure which one I want to start next. I have the audiobook for My Darling Dreadful Thing on Hoopla, so I might start that one, but I can't get my hands on like a physical or an ebook for that one, so it might just have to be an audiobook, but that's okay. It's under 10 hours, so it's not long. I'm not sure if I'm in like what kind of reading mood I'm in right now. Like what would be my perfect combination. I'm also not sure which book I'm most excited to read. I do have We Have Always Lived Here. Is that what it's called? We Used to Live Here. I do have a physical copy of that one. It's in my room, so I need to go get it if I'm gonna read it, but that's where that one is. And then the Book of Witching is one of the ones that is now at the library, and I'm still waiting on The Bog Wife, So Thirsty, Blood Like Mine, and The Eyes Are the Best Part. So yeah, I don't know. I could probably look and see what all of these are. What's this one about? I love this cover. I love the colors. I love these like neon fluorescent colors that are in publishing this year. They're so fun. All right, this one's revenge horror. I think from what I've heard, I think this one is haunted house horror, with this family who goes on vacation. I think this is also haunted house horror. Southern Gothic horror debut. And then this one is mythological horror. Ooh. I might start Indian Burial Ground by Nick Medina. I only read like this little bit, but I think I'm gonna start this. So these will be the current reads. Fingers crossed they go better for me than Incidents Around the House did. Ooh. Alright, y'all, I have an update for you. I started Indian Burial Ground, and I'm 90 pages in, and sadly, I hate to do this 2 books in a row, but I'm gonna DNF for a couple of reasons. One, this book is told in split timeline. Our main characters are Noemi and her uncle Louis, and at the beginning of this book, Noemi's boyfriend is hit by a car and killed, and the police and the driver say it's suicide because he just lunged in front of the car, but Noemi is convinced that's not what it is because they had plans. And so in Noemi's perspective, at 90 pages in, she's just really grappling with her grief and in denial about what the police say the cause is. And then in Louis's perspective, we're in the past where Noemi is young, 4, but we don't know exactly when. And the dual timeline is so hard to follow and so hard to track, and it feels like we're not getting any momentum in any of the storylines because nothing happens in the chapters, so we're just switching back and forth being with these characters, and so it's really boring. Basically, it's not tense, it's not creepy, there's nothing especially horrific happening. It's just kind of boring, and that's making it not a fun hang. And then the big reason I'm DNFing is there's rampant fat phobia in this book. There's a character in Louis's timeline who Louis says weighs 600 pounds. And the only way this character is ever referenced is by his weight. And it's described in really gross language of Louis being absolutely disgusted by this character's size. And I'm on chapter 14, and there's this paragraph where Louis goes and is talking to this character. His name is Ern, and Louis thinks, Ern exemplified what I feared. If ever there was a waste of life, time, talent, hope, space, and God knows what else, it was Ernest Meyer. He was supposed to carry on his family's tradition in storytelling and singing, a tradition the tribe respected and admired, but all he carried was a belly the size of a Buick. Fuck that, man. You can be fat and still be a storyteller. It's 2024, my guy. Let's adapt our viewpoints a little bit, and maybe not write fat phobic language. Yeah, just a thought. So I'm going to DNF that. And unfortunately, this is my first Nick Medina, and it makes me real reluctant to pick up Sisters of the Lost Nation, which is a bummer because I was interested in that book as well, but I'm not impressed with this one. So sadly, DNF 2 books. I am still reading A Sunny Place for Shady People. I read a story yesterday and a story today. I'm not loving it. The stories are okay. Granted, when I read the second one today, I was struggling to not fall asleep. I actually think I fell asleep in the middle of it. I took a little baby nap. I'm gonna keep going because I'm kind of interested in what she's talking about in these short stories so far. So I'm gonna keep going and see if maybe I can get in the groove. So now, instead of holding my camera, let me extend my tripod, and then don't fall. I have 4 of the books I need to read. Here, I'm going to pick the shortest, which is a real scientific method of picking which book to read next. Because I just I want something that Like, for all my complaints about Sleep Tight, that was such a quick read, and I want something else that's going to be like quick and propulsive and not boring. All right, so this one's 365. This one is 374. So this one's a little bit longer. We used to live here. Kind of scared to read this one. It's 312. This might be the winter. And Diavola is 291. We have a winner. So this is what I'm going to start next. I think this is set in Italy. I think it's a ghost story. Family goes on like vacation and something happens. Hopefully this one is scary. I find the cover terrifying. And hopefully Jennifer Thorne is not also fat phobic, because that would be a real big bummer if she was. All right, let's talk about The Angel of Indian Lake by Stephen Graham Jones. This is the third book in the Indian Lake trilogy. The first book is My Heart is a Chainsaw. The second book is Don't Fear the Reaper. I gave The Angel of Indian Lake 4 stars when I read it. So it's rough, because this is probably my least favorite book in this series. But if you ask me what my favorite series is, I mean, number one is the Gideon the Ninth series, like always and forever. But I would say the Indian Lake trilogy is my second favorite, like really close with Gideon. I really love this series as a whole, because this is a slasher series, and I would say book 1 is pretty fun slasher wise, and book 2 is maybe not as fun as book 1, but there's still like not a lightheartedness to it, because it's a slasher and there are really horrible things that are happening, and you're in Jade's head, and so like having all these horrible things happen to your main character is really rough. But this book, Stephen Graham Jones, like while he is wrapping up the series, he's also really tackling like the trauma that this town and that Jade has gone throughout the whole series. And so this makes this definitely like a heavier read, a harder read, and it didn't have the same like fun for me that the other 2 had, but especially book 1 had. And so that was I mean, something maybe that I should have anticipated, but at the time, like, it was really hard for me to wrap my head around. I would also say that I had a long period of time between reading book 2 and book 3. I read book 1 and book 2 pretty close together, and then, but when I did that, book 2 hadn't been out for very long, and so I had to wait a year to read this one. And I think having that gap and not rereading the series also like did my reading experience with this book a disservice, because I forgot what I was saying, but I did myself a disservice because there was a year in between reading the first 2 and reading this one, and so my brain was not aligned with where Jade actually was emotionally at the end of book 2. So I do think eventually I will go back and I will read the whole series back to back to back, and then I imagine that this rating will go up. Even though a 4-star isn't bad, like my rating with the first 2 books was so high, I was expecting this to be another 5-star, and so I was definitely sad that it wasn't. But I really love this trilogy. I really love Stephen Graham Jones's writing in this trilogy. He has a stream of consciousness writing style that really, really works for my brain, even if I don't love like what is actually going on in his book. I do really love his writing style, and it's so easy for me to consume. So big fan of the series, even if this particular book was not my favorite. And this is the series also, like My Heart is a Chainsaw is the book that got me into being a horror reader, and was my first slasher, and like I credit with my love of slasher books. So obviously I'm very, very biased, but it was great. And I would recommend, if you also like slashers, like if you are of the age of I Know What You Did Last Summer and Scream and like that type of teen slasher movie, and you don't mind like gore in books, I would highly recommend this trilogy because I think it's really fun. All right, I never gave you any updates, but I finished Diavola, I think it's Diavola, by Jennifer Thorne this morning. I think I'm giving it 5 stars. I don't know. I really liked it, like a lot. So this is about Anna, and she and her family are going on a vacation in Florence, or like in the in Tuscany, and they rented a villa for their trip. And Anna and her family have a very like strained relationship. Like they're a very toxic family. And immediately when Anna's in the Uber on the way to the villa, like she gets the sense, I'm going to put up the cover here because the library copy is so shiny. Like it's already weird. Like the Uber driver is kind of freaked out about taking her up to the villa, and she just gets the bad vibes. And the thing I think I really liked about this book is that it is really tense, and it is tense because of the haunted house situation going on. And it is also tense because of the family situation going on. And it was hard to tell sometimes what was freaking me out more, the house or her family, and the way they treated her and the way they treated each other. And I liked the writing. It was so atmospheric. This was legitimately creepy.
Ooh, scary ghost.
So I was absolutely thrilled by how creepy this was right off the get-go and how tense it was. Anna's family is horrible. Like absolutely toxic and awful. And I was so glad the whole time I was reading it that this family was not my family, and that my relationships with my brother and my sister are not Anna's relationships with her brother and her sister. My God. It was just, anyways, so it was very creepy, very atmospheric. I really, really liked it. And I don't know, a 5, I'm trying not to overthink it and just go with my gut and like with my initial feelings afterwards. But yeah, it's been a while since I've read a horror novel where I was genuinely upset towards the end that all these horrible things were happening to the main character, because I just wanted the main character to be okay and like to have good things, because she'd been through so much at that point. There are, like as always with horror, there's so many content warnings. I will say with this one, there is a content warning for abortion, and it doesn't happen in the book, but the way certain characters fixated on it was kind of upsetting, but done in a way where like I never felt like that was the author's viewpoint, like with the Nick Medina book, like with how often the fatphobic language popped up in such a short amount of time and how unnecessary it was to the actual plot of the book. Like it felt like that was his viewpoint, whereas with this, like it didn't feel like that is Jennifer Thorne's viewpoint because of who was saying it and how it was being brought up, if that makes sense. So anyways, yeah, I think this is a 5-star. I really liked it. I don't think this is going to win. I mean, we haven't talked about this, but like, I think we all know like Stephen King is probably going to win this category. So like, there's that. But my hope in doing this like project is that I would find like another horror book I really, really loved, or at least really enjoyed. And I feel like even if this is the only book that I end up giving a really high rating to, then this concept was a success because I found what I was looking for. So anyways, that's done. That is exciting. I did decide that I will give this project an end date. I'm going to do this for about 5 more days, and we'll just see what I can get through in the next 5 days and what else might come in from the library. I'm still pecking away at A Sunny Place for Shady People. I just read the 4th story, which also had fatphobic stuff in it, but I'm giving Mariana Enriquez a little bit more leeway than I gave Nick Medina because this is a translated work, and I don't know like what the viewpoint is in Argentina or like what the culture, like I just don't know like what the cultural subtext is there. So and it was only in 1 story thus far, so I'm giving it a little bit of a pass, but like also keeping my eyes out for more if there is more. As for what I'm reading next, I'm toying between reading The Year of the Witching by C.J. Cook, which I'm a little leery of. I don't really like witchy books, especially like when there's dual timelines, like there's a current day and there's a past timeline, and I don't like the past timelines usually because there's witch trials, and witch trials never mean anything good for any women ever. So I'm a little leery, but I figured it'd be good to try, and then if I DNF, I'll know pretty quickly. But I really want to read We Used to Live Here by Marcus Clear? Clear? I don't know. I want to definitely have read this before the end of the week. This is like a high priority for me. So I'm not sure which direction I'll go, but my children are already starting to circulate a little bit with me talking to the camera. So I'm going to choose between one of these two, and I will update you when I have an update to give. All right, y'all. Feel free to laugh at me because what I'm about to say is objectively hilarious. Or ridiculous, maybe. Ridiculous. This is ridiculous. But it's Monday. This video is going to end on Friday. By Friday. However, I slept in this morning and woke up like 10 minutes before I needed to wake the kids up, which means I lost an hour and a half of reading time for today. And I have to go back to work again in a few hours. So Monday is not a reading day. It's probably the day of the week I do the least amount of reading, especially if I do not wake up with my alarm. I don't know. I'm just so tired. Anyways, so I'm only 50-ish pages into the Book of Witching. I do like it so far. I like the dual timeline. We're following a woman named Clem in 2024 whose daughter is found by a park ranger washed up on the shore of this park. Not like a state park because it's in Ireland, but like whatever their version of state parks is. But nobody knows like how she got burned, and she's in a coma. And so Clem has just found out that her daughter is in the hospital, has gone to visit her, and is kind of trying to figure out what happened because her daughter has been put into a medically induced coma to help her heal from her burns. And then back in 15 something, we're following Allison, who has 2 younger children and has magic, but has kind of denounced all of that to try to keep her family safe. But her mother has recently done the ritual to not indoctrinate, that's the wrong word. What word am I wanting? Initiate Allison's children into this magical coven organization situation. So that's all I know so far. And I am liking it. However, because I overslept this morning, I am panicking that I'm not going to be able to read 2 books this week, especially since Thanksgiving is on Thursday. Tomorrow is my kids' last day of school. I typically read less when they are home for obvious reasons. And we want to do some family stuff on Wednesday. So anyways, I just don't know that my life will be conducive to reading 2 books this week. And I really want to read this one too. My husband went to go pick up our youngest from school. So I think I'm going to read a little bit of this and see, I'm assuming I will be sucked into this one, but I might not. It might turn out that this one is more compelling storytelling for me. But I'm going to read a little bit of We Used to Live Here, see how I like it, and then kind of pick which one to focus on this week based off of that. All right, it is several hours later, and I am 125 pages into We Used to Live Here. I don't know. I picked it up, and then I just could not put it down. And so I guess I'm reading this now because I'm almost halfway through. I have to leave shortly to go back to work, but don't think I'm going to be there very long. I actually don't think the class is going to happen, but I have to show up just in case 1 or 2 people come, but there's a really good chance that it'll be a no-show night, and then I'll be able to come back and keep reading. This is really interesting. So we're following Eve, and Eve and her girlfriend, Charlie, or her partner, are house flippers, and they've just moved in to this house in this fictional town in Oregon, way out in the sticks, and it's pretty isolated, and Eve is there by herself while Charlie is in town one evening, and this family knocks on the door, and the dad is like, "Oh, I used to live here. We were just driving by. I wonder if I could show my kids where I grew up." And Eve really doesn't want to invite them in, but ends up just through I don't know, ingrained, be polite no matter what, don't ever hurt anybody's feelings, kind of child rearing, allows them to come in. And it's interesting because at almost 50%, nothing has really happened, but the tension of what could happen has been there the whole time, and it's slowly starting to build, like more weird things are happening. And Eve's partner, is this a spoiler? What does the dust jacket say? Okay, so it's on the dust jacket. Okay, so I've just gotten to the part where Eve wakes up the next morning and the family has ended up spending the night because of this storm, and Eve's partner Charlie is gone, and so there's weird things going on. So we have the like regular chapters from Eve's perspective of the house, and then in between, I think pretty much every chapter, there are these like documents, and they're all different about like various histories of the house. Here's the cool thing that I noticed. On each page, this is the like a map of the house at the beginning. At each of these like interstitial things, I don't know if you can see that, there's Morse code at the bottom of each of these things. Like when it ends, there's Morse code. So I won't show you what it says, but I've been like, every time I get to one, I look up a Morse code alphabet and I write down, and it's like each thing has a word on it. So I'm slowly building this sentence, which I think is like a really fun little thing. So I don't know if that will give clues as we go. I don't know, but I think that's such a fun, interesting little, I don't know, flair to add into the book. So it's very fun. I'm really, like, my intrigue is like peaked, like peak intrigue to figure out what is going on with this family, what is happening in Eve's home, like where Charlie is, like what is going on, because it's all just weird. Like everything that's happening is just really weird. Not a whole lot of creep yet, but definitely a lot of like unease, weird, what the heck is happening? Like it, and the chapters are short, so it's so easy to just like, yes, please, I'll have one more and do that. 126 pages into the book, and it's only been a couple hours, so who knows, maybe I will accomplish my goals for this week anyways. Though I did just get a notification from the library that another book, which I can't remember which one, is waiting for me, and that So Thirsty is almost there, so like I might be able to pick up that tomorrow, but we'll just see what happens. I am so sad to report that this was such a letdown. I don't know what I'm gonna rate it, honestly. I don't. I'll put it on the screen if I figure it out afterwards. It could be like a 2.5 to like a 4. I could build a case for anything in that range. This started out so cool, and it was so interesting, and it was so like eerie and tense, and like I just wanted to know what was going to happen. But like the farther we got into it, the more I felt like, I don't know, it's like we were doing too many things. Like, is this like cosmic eldritch horror? Is this haunted house? Is just like psychological horror? Like there were so many things going on, and I found the ending really unsatisfying. Like not even that it was open-ended, but just super unsatisfying. Like almost like the author didn't know how to end it, and instead of trying to figure out like a way to resolve everything, just didn't. I don't know. I really didn't like the ending, and the Morse code didn't end up saying anything interesting. It was just like, yeah. I mean, I have a sentence, but like it doesn't reveal anything extra about the book. It doesn't, yeah. I feel like you could have done something so cool with the house and with parallel dimensions, and like that could have been so cool, and we just didn't go that way. Like the book ended up just like, I don't know. I did not enjoy the ending for this book, and I have questions because this has been getting rave reviews on Instagram. So I don't understand, like, or not on Instagram, but on BookTube. Well, on Instagram too. But anyways, I don't know. I can see, I did read some reviews where people said they didn't like Eve, and I can see that. She is a huge people pleaser and gets, like, a lot of what happens in the book happens because she is such a people pleaser and doesn't know or doesn't want to say no to these people that have come into her house. But so I get it because I'm also a people pleaser, but yeah, I don't know. I just didn't like it very much. I liked it less the farther in we got to it. But I read it, like, I read it really fast. I liked the writing. So, like, what do you rate a book where you read it fast, you like the writing, and you like it up to a certain point, and then the plot goes sideways on you? I don't know. I don't know what to rate it. But I finished it, so there's that. I think there is a lot of tension in this book. I think the author did a really good job of building tension. I will 100% not be watching whatever the adaptation is of this. I can't remember if it's a movie or a TV show, but I will not be watching that because I think that'll be super creepy. I don't know. If you've read this, I'd like to hear your thoughts. Please. Thank you. I need to think about that for a little bit. I do still have the Book of Witching, which I could try to finish, but I also got a text from my library that's so thirsty, and Blood Like Mine by Stuart Neville is waiting at the library as well. Oh, no. Just a minute. Never mind. I will not be reading Blood Like Mine. This is why I need to read synopses sometimes. It says it's a mother takes desperate measures to protect her daughter in a sinister, blood-chilling highway pursuit across the Southwest. That will probably not be for me. I don't want to read another book about a mom and her kid, since the Book of Witching is already about mothers and children. So okay. I've got to go mentally recover from how disappointing We Used to Live Here was. I was a teenage slasher. When did I read this? End of the summer, beginning of fall, sometime in that season. And I ended up giving this a 4.25. This is about Tolly, who lives in Texas. This is set in the summer of 1989, and it is Tolly telling the reader about how he became a teenage slasher, basically. And I mean, on the one hand, as I said, with My Heart is a Chainsaw and with the Indian Lake trilogy and The Angel of Indian Lake, Stephen Graham Jones's writing style really works for me. Regardless of what else is going on in the book, I really love his writing style. It's really easy to consume. So my enjoyment of his books really comes down to the characters and what is actually going on, because I know I'm always going to vibe with his style of writing. It's really distinctive, and it's either going to work for you or it's not. And this one, I really... let's see if I can remember. I remember really struggling with it and not loving it as much. I had a little bit of a what is the point in my reading of this. And I wish I could remember exactly what I didn't love. I would probably have to go back and reread the vlog I read, or I'd have to go back and watch the vlog I read this in. But what ended up really clinching this for me was the ending. I really loved the ending of this book, and it was really satisfying and really it made me tear up, and I just thought it was so well done. The friendship also in this book between Tully and Amanda, his best friend, is that her name? Amber, sorry, not Amanda. That also was my favorite part of this book, is just seeing the two of them together, seeing how they support each other, how they lean on each other. It's such a well-written friendship that that really pulled me through, even when I was struggling with actual plot in this book. And I think this is just a standalone, which is fine. Yeah, it was good. It was good, not great. I think if you like My Heart is a Chainsaw, you will also like this one. Maybe not love it as much. It has similar aspects where Tully is also super into slashers, or Amber is super into slashers and is walking Tully through his slasher journey with her knowledge of slasher movies. So yeah, I think if you liked My Heart is a Chainsaw, you will also like this one. Maybe not as much, because while it does have similar themes and plot structure, Tully is no Jade Daniels. So yeah. Okay, we're back because I saw that the finalists for the Goodreads Choice Awards have been announced. So we're going to look at horror together, because I haven't looked at it yet. Gosh, do I want to make any predictions about what is not going to be on the list or what will still be on the list? Well, let's start off with, for sure, I have no doubt that A Sunny Place for Shady People will probably not be on the list. And I actually have decided that I'm going to DNF this because this is not horror. I think this is literary fiction with speculative elements, but not horror. Like, these aren't scary. They're maybe unsettling, but I don't know. I don't know if this is just for her short story collection because I haven't read Our Share of Night. There's like a level of remove in the writing for this. So even though like Mariana Enriquez is describing like these disturbing things that are happening to mostly women in this book, I feel like there's a glass wall in between me and what's happening in these stories. So like I can see what's happening and I understand it, but I just don't feel like it feels very detached in the writing style. So I'm going to stop reading it, mostly because short story collections aren't really my thing. On the side from the horror, I've been rereading Middle Game, and literally every time I pick this up, my brain is like, well, you could be reading Middle Game right now, but instead you're reading a short story collection, even though you don't like short stories. So I think since this is very much not horror, I'm just going to cut my losses and I'm going to set it aside. So I don't think that will make it because it's short stories. And I don't think short stories do well. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. Because obviously, like, as I said, I'm not a short story girly. So tell me if I'm wrong. Tell me if short stories... I'm not a short story girly and I'm not a Goodreads Choice Awards girly most of the time. So... like, yeah, comment down below if I'm totally out of left field, totally out of just tell me if I'm wrong. Tell me if I'm wrong. I think Stephen Graham Jones will have made it, but I don't think both of them. I think I Am a Teenage Slasher is much more likely to have made it through than The Angel of Indian Lake, since The Angel of Indian Lake is the last book in a trilogy. I would be really surprised if The Eyes Are the Best Part did not make it. I don't think So Thirsty will have made it through. Well, maybe. Rachel Harrison does well, doesn't she? Maybe Rachel Harrison made it through. I don't think my eyes are not this good. The Curse, something, that historical gothic horror that has the black woman on the cover. I don't know that one will have made it through since it's a debut, and it just came out not that long ago. So I was actually kind of surprised it was on the list. And any other predictions? I don't know if The Bog Wife will have made it through. I think Stephen King is definitely going to have made it through. I really want Bury Your Gaze to have made it through. And I'm going to say maybe What Feasts at Night did not make it through because I don't think very many people liked that one. Okay, go to horror. Let's see what made it. All right, Diavola made it. That's good. I think that's really good. Sleep Tight made it. Okay, interesting. You Like It Darker made it. That's the Stephen King. Bury Your Gaze. God, Incidents Around the House. I totally blacked that one out from my brain. Okay. The Eyes Are the Best Part did make it. Oh, What Feast at Night did make it. Interesting. I wonder if that's just name recognition, like T. Kingfisher. Just that's why it made it through. I Was a Teenage Slasher did make it through. Okay. Murder Road, which I'm not going to read. And We Used to Live Here. And I'm not bitter about that book. It's fine. Interesting. Okay. I'm still going to continue to vote for Bury Your Gaze. I know we haven't talked about it yet. We will. But that was definitely... Diavola, I will say, is a really close second to Bury Your Gaze in this category. Like, I really, really liked that. That was such a good book. But I love Bury Your Gaze more, I think. Maybe. Anyways, let me know which one you voted for. Let me know if you're disappointed in who made it through. And yeah, I guess, should we end it here? Do I want to read anything else? I mean, I do want to read The Eyes Are the Best Part, but I am still on hold for that. That I think is really popular. And then, yeah, the two I said I wasn't going to read made it through. Okay, interesting. Do I still want to read? Does this vlog still continue? Yes, this vlog still continues. I do still want to read a few more things on this list, but that was interesting. I really hope Bury Your Gaze wins. If there's still time to vote when this video goes up and you haven't voted yet and you don't have any principles like me and you'll just vote for whatever book whether or not you read it, vote for Bury Your Gaze.
just got done at the gym and have reading updates. I'm 35% of the way through So Thirsty, and I'm not sure. So this is about, what's her name? Sloane. And it's Sloane's birthday. She's 36, I think. And her husband surprises her with a weekend getaway with her best friend who has been living in Europe and is gonna like fly in for this weekend. And Sloane is like weirdly reluctant to go to like this weekend getaway. And Sloane gets there and it's like this isolated like resort. It's very like hoity-toity, fancy schmancy. And her friend, why can't I remember anybody's name? What's her friend's name? Naomi. Yeah, Naomi, because she calls her Nay, and every time I think of like Nay like a horse, not Nay like nickname for Naomi. Anyways, yeah, and so Naomi gets there and they go out to this bar, and then Naomi like kind of ditches Sloane and like flirts with this like guy at the bar for most of the night, and then the following day surprises Sloane with going to a house party with this strange man she met at the bar. And then things start to go like weird from there. And like, obviously this is a vampire story. So like, I think we all know what the weirdness is. I will say I do not like Naomi at all. And I don't know that I like Sloane very much either. Their friendship doesn't really make sense. Sloane gives you as the reader like this backstory for how she and Naomi became friends in high school. But even with getting that backstory, like I don't see, the friendship just doesn't make sense on page. Like they don't seem like they enjoy each other's company very much. And yeah, it's just, I don't know, these two are very likable characters. So I'm not like super invested in what's going to happen to them. And the audiobook's not great. I don't mind the narrator. I hate the voice she does for Naomi, which may be contributing to my dislike for Naomi. So yeah, so that's where I'm at. It is the day before Thanksgiving. I've already made the pie dough because I always make pecan pie, and then I'm making like an oat eggnog pie this year that I've never made before, but a coworker gave me the recipe and it sounds good. It's like a custardy based pie. And so I'm going to make those today because we're going over to my parents' house tomorrow for actual dinner. And then I told my mom I would bring some sort of like appetizer, and I think I'm going to make French onion dip because we get Every Plate, which is a meal subscription box, and I really like it. However, they send me like 30 million onions every week, and so I have a ton of white onions in the fridge that I need to use. So I thought French onion dip would be a good way to use those up. So I need to run to the grocery store and grab the stuff for that. Like I need sour cream because I don't have any, and then I need, is that it? Is that all I need? I think I need more butter. I don't think I have enough butter, and I don't know that I have enough brown sugar, so I should get that too. And then I'm debating if I'm going to grab an iced coffee before I go home, or if I'm going to be good and make iced coffee at home. I'm probably going to buy it. So we're going to go to the store, we'll go grab coffee, and then we'll go home. And my hope is that I can keep listening to the audiobook while I make the pecan pie. And yeah, I'm kind of debating what the plan is for today. We were originally going to go see Wicked, but then I found out it's almost 3 hours long. Why? Just why? I don't think movies need to be over an hour and a half. I don't know if that's a controversial opinion or if that's a hot take, but like, if you can't tell your story in an hour and 30 minutes, what are you doing? Especially like with Wicked, where it's only part one. Act one of the musical is only like maybe an hour and a half, maybe an hour and 45 minutes. At the most. So like, why is this almost 3 hours long? Like that's the whole musical. What are we doing? Anyways, I'm gonna go run my errands. Wish me luck. I low-key kind of want a DNF. So thirsty, but I also really don't want to end this vlog on a DNF. So yeah, positive thoughts and vibes appreciated. Even though this is in the past and the positive thoughts and vibes are going to do me no good, but you know, just okay, thanks, bye.
let's talk about Bury Your Gaze by Chuck Tingle. I read this in July for Summerween. I gave it 5 stars. This is by far my favorite. It's my favorite horror of the year for sure, and definitely my favorite horror out of everything that I've read and or DNF'd during this challenge. So this is about Misha, who is a screenwriter, a director, a filmmaker, and he has built his career on horror movies and is now the creator of this sci-fi TV show and is getting ready to go into doing their season finale, in which the 2 main characters, who have long had like really great like sexual tension on screen, to have them kiss, and this couple is queer. And Misha's also up for an Academy Award, I think for screenwriter for a different project, or maybe it's for that same project. I don't know. Anyways, but Misha's career is going like great. It's gangbusters. And then Misha gets called into the office of one of the heads of the studio, who is basically like, yeah, we're going to need you to kill your queer characters off because the algorithm says it'll make us more money. And Misha at first is like, F you, I'm not doing that. And then after Misha leaves the office, he starts to see characters that he's created for various horror movies pop up and follow him. It's super creepy. It's really gross. Chuck Tingle really goes there with bugs and like just grotesque, gory imagery. So like this is have a strong stomach if you're gonna be picking up a Chuck Tingle horror novel, is basically what I'm trying to say. I listened to this mostly on audio. The audio book is incredible. The production value is so high. There's sound effects, there's screenplay excerpts in here from the horror movies that Misha has written, and those have like a full cast narration. So it's just so well done. But there were a couple times where I had to pause the audiobook and skim read the physical book with my eyeballs because what was happening was so gross and the sound effects were so good that I just could not take it in on audio. It was just too nauseating for me. So this was a really, like, I read this so fast. It was a really visceral, like I had a lot of really visceral reactions to it, which was not great in the moment, but really great in hindsight and in my memory of this book. And I love that also in this one, Chuck Tingle kind of establishes that Camp Damascus and Bury Your Gaze kind of like he's establishing a Tingleverse, which is great. And I love it. And I cannot wait I hope he has another horror come out next year because he's been doing like one a year. I'm so excited. I really hope he has another one. I can't wait to see what that one is about and what he chooses to tackle next. And I think this is just like absolutely fantastic. And I highly, highly recommend Bury Your Gaze. Okay, friends, it's been a couple days and we are here to close out this vlog. I did finish So Thirsty by Rachel Harrison. I actually finished it on Wednesday, and yesterday was Thanksgiving, and I was so glad I finished it on Wednesday because I didn't read a ding dang thing yesterday, and if I had had to read another book, we would be in trouble. But I did finish it, didn't have to worry about it, all is well. I ended up giving this a 3.75. So this book is supposed to be about this friendship between, I've already forgotten everybody's name, between Sloane and Naomi. And I actually found the parts that centered on their friendship to be my least favorite and the least interesting because their friendship it didn't feel real. Like I felt like every time they were together, they were annoyed by each other or fighting or like pissing each other off. Like I never saw the moments of like genuine friendship, and like whenever they were talking about their friendship, they were referencing like in high school or college when they were friends and not talking about in the present moment how their friendship is. So it felt like one of those friendships that you're like left over from high school that you're still in just out of habit and not maybe out of any actual affection or fondness for the other person. So I didn't buy the friendship. There is like a little bit of a romance subplot between Sloane and one of the vampires, and I liked that the most. It was giving me like 2000s paranormal romance vibes, and I was kind of into it. And I think I would have liked this more if the main plot had been the romance between the vampire and Sloane. I also like, okay, we're gonna guess that we're gonna assume this is not a spoiler, but Sloane and Naomi do get turned into vampires, right? We're aware that based off this plot, or based off this cover, this title, the fact that it's a vampire novel, like we all knew that was gonna happen, right? Sloane really struggles with becoming a vampire. She has a lot of guilt. She's really kind of grossed out by it. She is just like not a fan of the turn her life has taken. And I think it was too much hand wringing. Also, I would have liked it more if she had, I don't know, not done so much hand wringing about being a vampire, which maybe is more realistic that she was not into it at first, but I don't know, I found myself wanting her to get over it. So what I did like is, well, what did I like? I like the writing. That was easy to read. I like how short the chapters were. That was great. I liked the romance between Sloane and the vampire, even though that wasn't like the main focus. I still really dug it. I thought it was fun. I thought it was a good way to kind of push Sloane into healing from past events in her life, like a good catalyst. And I liked the like gang of vampires that they fall in with. Like I really liked the mix of personalities, and like some of them were kind of caricatures, but like in a fun way. Like it reminded me of, like I said, paranormal romance that I read in the early 2000s, or like watching Buffy, or other vampire-centric like CW TV show kind of vibes, which I love those vibes. I'm always here for it. So yeah, 3.75. I will definitely read more Rachel Harrison, because I feel like I've heard from people who really love her that this is not their favorite. So I think I could have other books by her that I would like even more. And with that, we are at the end of this video. I pulled out all the books that I have, and it is wild to me that I only actually finished 3 books this week, because I feel like, or 10 days, the 10 days I've been doing this, I feel like I've read so much, but in fact, can I get them? Okay, wait. Let me get organized. So there are 2 that I never got from my library, The Bogwife and The Eyes Are the Best Part. Those just didn't come in on time. I had 4 that I didn't get to. I might circle back around to the Book of Witching because I did like the first 50 pages. I am not going to read another book written by a man about motherhood. It's just not what I'm into. I fear this is going to be too literary fiction for me, but I am obsessed with this color scheme, so maybe someday. And I think I will someday circle around to this because I am interested in, Gothic, haunted house, horror. And then I had 4 that I had already read, as we have discussed, and all my viewpoints still stand. I had previously read What Moves at Night, I Was a Teenage Slasher, Chuck Tingle, no, Bury Your Gaze, and The Angel of Indian Lake. We have the 2 that I was not going to read, no matter what, and that is the Simone St. James and the Stephen King. I can't remember what the books are called because I don't care. I DNF'd 3. She won't talk about them again because, I said my piece. And then I actually finished 4. And one was a 5-star. So that was great, which means I have 2 5-stars out of the stack, which is not, it's not a great percentage, but it's not shabby. It's not too shabby. I'm not mad about it. I'm a little mad about it, but I'll get over it. That's basically what I'm saying. So that is the end of this video, this very long project. If you made it to the end of this, also a very long video, thank you so much for watching. I would love to hear your thoughts about these books, how you feel about the Goodreads Choice Awards, if you would like me to do something like this next year. I was thinking if I do this next year, if I'm interested in the books in the horror category, instead of trying to read as many as possible, maybe only reading the ones by women and seeing how that goes. just based off of my reading experience this year. I feel like if I just focused on the ones written by women next year, I could have a better time overall. But, you know, let me know your thoughts. I would love to hear them. If you want to leave an emoji just to let me know you are here. I feel like I read a lot. I feel like there are a lot of like haunted house horror this year. So let's do a house emoji for all the haunted houses. And like if you liked it, subscribe if you want to, and I'll talk to y'all in the next one. Bye!